Hello, my name is Eric and I'm doing another one of my photography vlogs called One Body, One Lens, One Roll, One Day. And today's camera, I'm pulling out my Pentax 645 again. Still only have one lens for this thing, so it's still the 75mm. So I'm just switching up with a different film. I am at Plum Creek, the north entrance. I was here before in the middle of winter, so there really wasn't much greenery. I'm seeing some greenery now, so I grabbed a roll of Agfavit Pan 200. It is a near infrared film, so hopefully I can get some cool effects with the greenery, kind of turning white and ghostly. I'm shooting across the little pond with a picnic area, reception area. I've seen people do like little wedding receptions there and stuff like that. This being near infrared, I'm going to load it up underneath my jacket just in case, kind of get it started and get it set. And then when it comes time to unload, I'll probably also do the same thing, just to keep the infrared sensitivity down. I do have an infrared film filter on this camera. It is a variable infrared filter, so I can dial it from 650 nanos to I think 850. But as with a lot of variable type of filters, variable neutral densities and variable infrared filters, if you hit the spot just right, usually at its darkest point, you can get this weird X pattern as the two filters like perfectly line up. So be careful about that. And there are some higher grade neutral density filters that will do a hard stop so you don't get that effect. So you can usually tell how good a filter is by those little extra things. Alright, so I'm going to load it up and then I'll take some shots. Alright, okay, so I got my film loaded up and I've got my my variable infrared filter set for, actually I can go from 530 nanometers to 850. I've got it set for 530. I might dial it up a little bit. It is kind of dark to look through. It's like shooting through a very dark red filter. Because I'm on a tripod and what I'm focusing on is, in the distance, what I did is I set my lens to f8. And if you remember the previous episode with the Nikon and the infrared, I screwed up a little bit, but the lesson was there's a infrared marker on your focus point. So you focus normally, but then you drift it like 20% closer because of the visible infrared spectrum. So what I did is I set for f8, which allows me to focus normally, and the f8 depth of field grabs that same infrared within that same depth of field focus zone. So I'm not going to make any focus adjustments unless I have to go to a shallower depth of field. But I figured at f8 I've got the grab. It probably will be like 80% in front focus and 20% beyond, just because of that drift caused by infrared. And I don't want to call it a drift, it's just the visible spectrum. All right, I'm going to take a couple shots and then go from there. All right, so I've got my camera set for aperture priority, so I'm setting the f-stop and the camera's going to pick the shutter speed for me. And what I'm seeing is at f8 I was about a half a second, so just using the normal shutter button. I did a shot at f13 which suddenly drifted me down to almost 2 seconds. I'm not sure that one's going to come up. Maybe my hand coming away from the camera might cause a little bit of jitter on that one, but we'll see. Now, a lot of the cameras, when it comes to film cameras, either can take a cable release, a mechanical cable release that'll screw into the shot, in which case then I can do a plunger and any movement that I have would be absorbed by the cable. So if you're doing longer exposures, that may be something to have, and I think I have one at home. I just didn't bring it with me. Where you go and then it'll take the shot, no jitters. The other few things that you can do is if your camera has a self timer, you can set it for either a 10-second or 2-second delay. That way when you take your hand away, again, doesn't show the jitters. Now some of the pocket film cameras that I've done, and a few of the autofocus bodies that are in the lineup, you can also use a infrared remote. In which case, now there's no cable whatsoever. The only thing about that is make sure you got a good battery in the infrared remote, but that's a little watch battery, it lasts a pretty long time. And two, watch where the sensors are in your camera. Some of the sensors are in the back, some of the sensors in the front, so you might have to be at, might not be able to click it from the side. So just watch where your sensors are so you can do the infrared remote. All right, I'm going to move a little bit and then take a couple more photos and see what I get. Alright, so this camera does have a self-timer, so I'm going to use it. I'm going to go all the way up to F22, which means my exposure is 2 full seconds. I'm pointing at a spill off from the lake I was just at. Not as much greenery, so I'm not sure what the infrared's going to do, but it might look cool. If not, black and white always looks kind of cool. Actually, now it's reading 3 seconds, probably because of metering pattern. And the light's just changing a little bit because it's kind of a cloudy day. There it goes. Guess the only problem about this one is I can't tell what the countdown is. How long? I think it's a 10-second countdown, so you just gotta have to count it. Go a little shallow again. I'm gonna go all the way down to 2.8, which means this time I do have to make a shift to my focus. So find the focus through the, pretty dark red filter, drift it to the infrared point. I'm just going to shoot this without a self-timer. There we go. All right, I'm going to move again, see what else I got. I got about 4 or 5 shots left. I was going to go walk down this trail a little bit. Looks like it is rather muddy. It looks like some people rode some bikes through it, so it's kind of torn up a bit. So I'm not going to walk down that path. Just, I don't want to slip with the equipment, stuff like that. So I'm going to do a couple shots right here. And that'll probably finish up my roll, and then I'll go turn it in a couple days. I might have tried dialing the infrared dial, as dark as she'll go, like 850, and hopefully either I won't see that pattern, or if I do, then you'll see the effect I was talking about. All right, let me get to shooting. All right, that's the end of the roll. So I'm going to go turn it in. So this episode is about the 645, the 75mm lens. So, I've done this camera before, but the Agfavit infrared sensitive black and white film with an infrared filter. Infrared film's tricky, so, we'll see what I get. If you like the results, the photos will be posted at the tail end. Feel free to, give me a thumbs up. Give me share it if you think it's something that you learned from it. Comment on it if thumbs up, comment, share. These are probably going to be coming out about every Friday about noon is when they'll be posted. I've got a couple in the lineup. Some cool cameras coming up. I'm going to do the N70 again, but that'll obviously be a future episode. Give that one a good fair shakedown because the infrared one, episode last time wasn't that great. Otherwise, I'll see you next episode.